Coming up, a Sad Styles production. Get into it!
I just need to make this expressly clear. I will not come back and record something if it's messed up. That is my will and testament.
Well, good. Well, then I'm going to mess up your audio.
No.
Keep mine good.
Mine good.
Mine good audio. Mine good was the sequel to Mein Kampf.
I know. I was waiting for that.
Thanks. It's mine good joke.
Welcome to the Retrograde
podcast where we remind you what you used to love and whether or not you still should.
I'm Andrew Bascom, and with me as always is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Joe and Mikey, Aaron were.
Wow, just laid it up, eh?
I mean, it was right there for the taking. I thought maybe I'll complicate it. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll do a deep dive.
That sounds like you.
But what? Yeah, no, I'm taking the easy route.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think if it's not obvious,
yes,
there's a video game that we're focusing on today.
And what would that be?
Well, if you couldn't tell by my name, it's Joe and Mac.
Oh,
the prehistoric duo, baby.
Yeah.
Now, if you're new to this podcast, first of all, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Typically, what we like to do is take a look back at the games that we used to play when we were kids, usually something that we had a little bit of reverence towards one way or another. We rate and review the games as we remember them back when we played them as little children. Mm-hmm. We take a break, play the game, play some of the audio or the video. If you're watching over on YouTube, then rate and review the game as it holds up in the modern day against the likes of modern games. And today's game, as I mentioned, Joe and Mac. But before we talk about that, we like to take a swift left turn and talk a little nonsense for
Nonsense time. By the way, that's Mike Aaronworth.
Hi.
I never find a right time to go like, and also his real name is Mike Aaronworth.
Well, I think maybe I could not steamroll the conversation so much and make it a little easier on you. Yeah, no, just for the most part. I think if I didn't want to just not stop talking 90% of the time, I could.
You're on the right medium.
But I honestly don't think I'm going to do that. So for now, I'll just keep on going. But you know what? My throat's getting a little tickly.
It's a little tickle.
It's a little tickly. Andrew, what have you been up to this past couple of weeks? I know you've been up to some games. You've been making part of your New Year's resolution. Play more games.
To play more games. Yeah. New Year's resolution. Everyone's like, hit the gym, read more books. I'm like, I should double down on this video game thing.
Play more games.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like my quotient of video games is too low.
Yeah.
No, but you know what? I have made a big effort to go back and play games that maybe I didn't give enough a chance to.
Yeah.
And for, Mikey, because after last week, we talked a lot about God of War Ragnarok. That's been a big conversation online in between these weeks of episodes here because we talked about our most anticipated things of 2022 2 weeks ago, and people were surprised. No God of War Ragnarok.
God of War Ragnarok didn't show up on either of our lists.
And why is that?
Well, it's just because it didn't. God of War, the reboot, did not speak to us the way that it spoke to everyone else.
Some people say it's one of their favorite games of all time, and to you, go with
just
God.
like IGN did.
Respect, but. And you know what? So I'm like, gosh, go back and play these games I didn't give a fair enough chance to. And I was like God of no, absolutely not. And I skipped past it and I was like, oh, Horizon Zero Dawn.
I thought you were going to give God of War a shit, but based on what you were saying there, because I've been considering going back to it as well.
Yeah, I keep thinking about it.
I just can't imagine I'm going to actually, I gave it a fair shake.
Yes.
I spent a lot of time with it. I think I ended up spending more time with that game than you did, but we both kind of gave up. And I'm just saying that I beat you in terms of the competition of who spent more time with God of War. I was the victor.
Really?
Well, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell me I'm wrong.
I guess we'll have to pull up our PS4s at the time and just chart the hours.
Actually, I've heard that that playing God of War, because it got an update for PS5, and apparently it's gorgeous.
Well, it was a very pretty game in the moment, too.
Right.
So that doesn't shock me, but I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. Especially for the people that liked it. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe I should go back and play it.
But you've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn.
I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn.
Have you made much progress since our last recording?
Yeah, you know what? Just, it's more of the same. Shooting a bow and arrow at a bunch of mechanical robots.
Yes.
And then it's kind of like any zombie movie, Mikey. You wouldn't believe this. The real danger is other humans.
Oh my God, Andrew.
Yeah. Think about that.
Have we, has that story been told?
I've got my PhD doctorate. I've written the whole thing about maybe humans are the most dangerous game of all.
Oh my God. I don't believe that could possibly be true because we're all trustworthy.
Well, wait until you read my paper.
Oh, okay.
It's exhaustive.
Your paper is just like a piece of loose leaf with notes scribbled on the back. You're not mean like a paper, like a dissertation.
Mr. Bascom, I'm like, yes. And it's usually we write in pen, not blood. I'm like, or I did it like a hostage letter where I cut out letters from magazines.
You know what's funny is I used to see that as a kid, whether it be like a hostage letter
Yeah.
in a movie. I didn't come across these in my day-to-day
Not when your
life
sister
often
went
enough.
missing. Yeah,
No,
okay.
no, because we didn't care. We got a bunch of anonymous letters. We just threw them right in the trash.
Yeah. Final notice.
This was an anthrax era.
Oh yeah.
So we didn't want to risk
Scary.
opening up an envelope.
100%.
Even when my sister was missing, we knew she'd make it out. Okay.
That's what she would want.
She would want us to be safe from anthrax.
Okay, so
The
just,
band.
just free demo. No. Okay, so Steve Wynn, famous hotelier.
Yes.
Which is a word that's come up a lot in the Righteous Gemstones early season.
It's back,
It's
baby.
back, and I'm so excited. I almost want to give it another week so that we can start talking
Yeah,
about
let's
it.
not talk about it yet.
Okay, but the word hotelier comes up a lot, and every time I laugh at it. But Steve Wynn, famous hotelier in Vegas, he has the Wynn Resorts in Encore. He used to have Caesars, Mirage, tons of things. Very rich guy. His child got taken,
Right.
like Liam Neeson.
Yes.
And
this isn't the Getty Fortune. This isn't all the money in the world.
No,
This is something
that's a different story. But
Right.
this one is the basis of, you ever seen Ocean's 11? This is literally what happens in Ocean's 11 as well, because he just didn't involve the cops. He just went right to them and just said, like, here's money. I want the kid back. And they were like, okay, cool. And then the cops found out like days later that they're like, this
Wow.
happened. And he's like, yeah, I had money. I'm going to give him money.
Yeah.
And you're like, that makes total sense. I totally
Holy
understand
shit.
this.
Do you think that makes him more or less of a target for kidnappings moving forward?
Yeah, maybe it's like the whole thing of like, we don't negotiate with terrorists because once we start doing it, they'll just do it. It doesn't give them a disincentive to stop doing it.
Do you think someone's like spawn camping his kids? Like he comes, pays them, they release them, and there's someone in the kid's closet in his bedroom just waiting to kidnap him again and bring him back.
The school teacher in Las Vegas is like, how much money?
Yes.
And just like put his paper down and stares at the third row like, Billy, can I talk to you for a second? Quitting this stupid job, and just picks him up under his arm.
Quentin Tarantino.
$2 million, please. Holding the child.
Because there's the case of the Getty Fortune.
Yes.
Where the whatever his name is, something Getty, I'm assuming, even though I know that's not what it is. The kid gets kidnapped and the guy's like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you.
Yeah, he's like, they're like, we want this reasonable amount of money given what your fortune is. He's like, nah.
Did you see the Christopher Plummer movie?
That's what I'm talking about. All the money in the world. Yeah.
You know who?
The Kevin Spacey movie?
You took my trivia from me. But that was originally the Christopher Plummer reshot that because it was supposed to be Kevin Spacey. Interesting enough, 20-year difference between the two actors.
That's what's never made sense to me in that. Was was Kevin Spacey going to be in like old man makeup?
Yeah. But doing the Frank Underwood impression.
It's the Frank Underwood for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
So you took my child. Hits his ring a couple of times on the desk. Oh boy.
I really want that child.
And some ribs.
And maybe a couple other children while you're at it.
Yeah, they realized how bad of a problem they had on their hands. They're like, what does this character want? Children. Uh-oh.
They cut the monologue where he's just looking in the mirror screaming like, I love children.
I just want children. And you're like, oh no. Oh God.
You can't take my children from me.
Man, Kevin Spacey's performance in this movie is
really
incredibly real.
Really good.
It feels like he's from the heart.
You know what they could do pretty easily if they wanted to reshoot, like recast someone in a role is you could recast someone who's wearing a mask pretty easily. And Boba Fett's wearing a mask in the Book of Boba Fett for most of it.
Boy, is
Have you
he.
been watching Book of Boba Fett?
I have been watching Book of Boba Fett.
Now, I don't know if you saw this, and this being you, Andrew, or you, the listener, if you follow me over on Twitter at Retrograde Mikey, you're at Retrograde.
What's up?
We also have at Retrograde Pod. I tweeted after the first episode of Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah.
That I didn't think The Mandalorian had a single episode that was worse than the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett. I did not enjoy it.
Okay.
Did you like the first episode?
I did.
Why?
I did because I think it's a fun action-y romp, and I honestly think most people need to look themselves in the mirror about The Mandalorian.
Okay.
And that if Baby Yoda wasn't in it, how much would they actually enjoy the show?
But Baby Yoda is in it.
But this is, well, you know what, good or bad. So like people could disagree with my opinion here, and that's totally fair. It's my opinion. I can't be wrong. I'm not allowed to be wrong.
My job is to disagree with it, so I will be doing that. For the rest of you who are screaming and throwing things at your iPod right now.
Star Wars was built on selling toys.
Right.
That was the idea behind the whole movie. And yes, George Lucas had
Not the first one.
the
Toy deal was basically an afterthought for the first one.
Well, not for George, it wasn't.
Not for George, no, because he had the merchandising.
Nonetheless, throughout the history of Star Wars, it's been the insertion of cute things that will sell toys, right? It's clear that they constantly have tried to do that, right? And that continued on with The Mandalorian. And I think part of the reason why it became such a pop culture success and why my mom knows what The Mandalorian is because of Grogu, the baby Yoda. Which, by the way, everyone's like, Grogu, you're like, okay, thanks.
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda's fine with me. And I wonder what the temperature for the show going forward will be now that maybe Baby Yoda might be separate from The Mandalorian and they've kind of like blew their load with the surprises of where the timeline is and stuff like that. I actually didn't mind that it was like, you know what? It's kind of just like a Star Wars show where we get to do Star Wars things. And, you know, like I actually kind of like that there's like weird action stuff. And I really didn't mind it. And I so much so that I didn't even have a full opinion. And then when you're like, I actively did not like it, I'm like, whoa, what?
I think the reason I didn't like it is because when The Mandalorian came on the scene, it was so different from what we'd seen in Star Wars.
For sure.
And that upset a lot of people. They're like, this is just like a dumb Western. And I'm like, that's why I liked it. It felt like it was doing something different. I think in hindsight, it isn't doing that much quite different, but it is a departure from Star Wars in a lot of ways.
Which Star Wars fans always are okay with.
They love it.
They love when they're like, please mess with the thing I like.
They say, listen, I love this reboot, but why don't you take some creative liberties with the source material? They'd really like to see that. And they say, listen, I know what we did last time with The Last Jedi and all that stuff, but we will not dox you and we will not send you death threats. And every time it's like Grogu trying to go for that little circle on the little controller thing.
Yes.
He's always going to go for the circle. Yep. Star Wars fans are always going to go to dox you. They're always going to dox you.
What a great community to take chances in. Okay,
you never do it.
No.
But this is the thing is the Book of Boba Fett felt like an episode of The Mandalorian without The Mandalorian in it. And that in and of itself isn't terrible, but it just felt like it should have taken a little bit more of a swing for the first episode to kind of find its own tone. In the second episode, I think it did enough of that.
I actually loved the second episode.
I loved the second episode.
Okay, good.
I'm right back on. The second episode was great. I like the fact, and a lot of people talk about this, they say Boba Fett is like just the most overrated character in Star Wars.
Probably.
Like, what did he do? He looks cool. He got killed by no one.
Yeah.
Spent a few years in the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, he didn't kill anybody. Like, he literally is like, well, that guy's pretty badass, and then immediately dies. Like, well, not immediately, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Strung out.
Pretty much. I like this kind of rewriting of him because everyone thinks he's going to be like this badass, and I know the Clone Wars and all that stuff, so there's a history there, but I really like the fact that he's kind of a good guy because he's seen slaves. He grew up as a slave or involved in that with the clones. So he's not willing to take on slaves. He wants to liberate, and to have Boba Fett, who is this notorious badass villain in the movies, be rewritten as this kind of more a gentle figure.
Yes.
I like that.
Or fair and just. And I think the fact that like in the thing is like, well, you're a bounty hunter. He's like, no, I'm not. He's like, that's not what I heard. And it's like, I think Boba's got to come to terms with how he is seen in the world and going like, is that what you think of me?
Yeah.
And it's like, and I love the story with the Tusken Raiders, you know, and to be honest, like to make this a bigger Star Wars conversation in general, we're not going to get a Star Wars movie in 2022. Right. And as far as we know, we're not getting a Star Wars movie in 2023 at this point.
The next one's Taika, isn't it? I think.
Yes, or it's what's her name? I'm sorry, there's a female director and I can't remember what it is.
Would you remember it if it were a guy, Andrew?
The worst part is, probably. No, I don't know. Like when they announced all those projects, a lot of them got pushed back in timelines. And whether you disagree with me or not, and you might disagree with me here, but I think this is Star Wars or the Disney side of Star Wars looking at going, maybe we took an L on this last little bit here. You know what I mean? We had a definite idea that we were going to release at least a main story Star Wars once a year. We're probably going to release a side story in the summer. Right. And then people were like, I don't know about this because of the inconsistencies in storytelling for good or bad or whatever you feel about it. And I think this is them taking an L. And now, since we're going to be depraved of that, oh God, we're so deprived, is that, you know what last week's Boba Fett had? It was like a little Star Wars story, and I was 100%. So happy with it.
100%. It had those moments,
like a little movie.
Yeah, and setting up these rivalries, and there wasn't as much action. Well, actually, there was the action scene at the end with the train, which I really fucking liked.
I liked it,
and the build up. It felt like the build up and the pacing just kept me going. I was into it the whole time. There was the training montage with Boba Fett learning how to use the Tusken Raider stick, whatever weapon. Yeah. I'm sure there's a name for it, and I'm gonna get doxxed because I don't know it by all the Star Wars fans out there.
Doesn't sound like them.
No, not at all. Not at all. But there's one thing I like, and I have a weird prediction. It's not quite a spoiler because there was just an introduction of a character who's protecting the Hutt twins.
Evil Chewbacca.
The evil Chewbacca who comes in the scene, who reminds me, he plays the same role that Boba Fett played in Star Wars, where it's like this silent, badass thing who's just there as a factor of intimidation. Do you think that character gets killed very easily at random in an episode? Oh, I would love that so much.
God, that would be so funny. It would be so funny
because he looks so fucking badass. Man.
I love that. And not that we need to sit here and go like this. Andrew, being a white guy, needs to explain the story. What I did love about this whole thing was that like the Tusken Raiders get a story about being an indigenous people in this thing and then getting trampled all over. The gentleman that plays Boba Fett, he's an indigenous actor himself, and the weapons are very similar to ones that I've heard him speak about this. Like that they're very similar to where he's from and stuff. So it's this redemption story of like, whereas it's so funny that our attitudes towards it in the 70s were like, Tusken Raiders, what a joke. We just trample them all the time. They're stupid. And now this whole idea behind it is like, there's like a reward to the story. There's a backstory to it. And that every person has a story. I love that kind of aspect of it. It
awesome. It means it gives you this impression that there's so much more. Like, give us a Tusken Raider show. Like I feel like the more they set things up like this, the more they can actually expand the universe, and that's a good thing for Star Wars to do.
Yes, which absolutely needs to right now, because every time that they've done that or tried to, especially on a grand scale in movies, they're like, ooh, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, do you want that Han Solo movie? It's like, which I know now there's a weird subsect of like the internet that's like, that movie is actually good. I'm like, okay, that's very good. Okay, that's great.
There's always going to be that. So give it 3 years and someone's going to do that. No, but I really like this idea. I like the exploration of this kind of realm of a story that the one thing I'll say about this episode though, the vibes that it gave me with like an industrialized colony coming through a desert, a harsh desert area with technology and spice. It's Dune. It's fucking Dune.
When they said spice, I'm like, wait a second. Yeah. Like, and they're like, and it opened up and I'm like, holy shit, that's spice.
That's spice.
What the fuck is going on there? I will say the other small thing too is if you're not watching the show,
all the small things
is do you heard Blink-182 in that episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they were actually playing in the train during that attack sequence.
Wouldn't that be great if they go to the cantina and it's just Blink-182? But is that my player one has seen the original trilogy and that's it. And she watches Boba Fett with me. She's like, at the end of the episode, she's like, that was a lot of fun. I'm like, because at the end of the day, Star Wars should sometimes just be a bunch of weird ghoulies and ghosties and monsters and stuff like that, and a very straightforward storyline.
A very, I 100% agree. And it's interesting because I wouldn't have thought that you would say that just based on some of your opinions on Star Wars, but I totally agree. I'm okay with there being like Star Wars in general is very archetypal. It's predictable. It's a character arc that's based on the arc of an operatic story, like part and parcel. It is what you expect it to be. And I like that about it. And Boba Fett seems to, within each episode, and same with The Mandalorian, follow that same structure.
Yes.
And I'm cool with it.
I think on the TV side, I'm totally fine with this. You have 45 minutes. Do not overcomplicate this. Tell us a story, have a conclusion or whatever, or a season-long story at least. But there has been conclusions to every episode that you watch, which is totally fine. I think the issue with the movies is that they overcomplicate it.
Yes.
And now there's 17 storylines and they don't wrap up half of them. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, what the hell what are we watching this for?
Right. Now, you have Boba Fett putting on one of the most iconic helmets in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
I was putting on a different helmet over the weekend, and it was my VR helmet again.
You wear a helmet when you play VR?
I have to because I bump into the wall all the goddamn time. You set up the... Excuse me. You set up the restrictions in terms of where you can go in your place. Yeah. It doesn't prevent me from walking straight into a wall half the time.
We should get you like a red velvet rope, like a VIP line.
Oh man. Oh boy, give me a blue velvet rope.
Ooh.
Why
do you like that more?
Well, because I want my life to be directed by David Lynch.
I was wondering if that was what you were talking about.
That's what I was talking about. So I mentioned on the last week's episode that I was playing with some of my university buddies, Phasmophobia, not in VR. But we were just playing on the computer. You can play Phasmophobia in VR, but I'm not going to.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, Andrew, don't give them any ideas. So what are you doing? No, but we were playing on my Oculus Quest 2. They were playing, I think they have one as well. And we were playing, we got together to play Arizona Sunshine, which is a co-op zombie shooter game in VR.
And new seltzer line.
It really, yeah. Holy shit.
Oh, is it good?
It's just, here's the funniest thing about VR. If you and I don't see each other for a month or so,
Sounds terrible.
It sounds awful.
Oh.
And we just lived through it. Barely, but we did.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah, we actually barely
They really tried to take it from us.
But when we see each other finally for the first time in a while, we might give each other a hug.
Yes.
Hey, how's it going?
Yes.
A little handshake.
Yes.
There's something about putting on a VR headset. When you have the headset on and you see some of your friends that you haven't seen in a while, the interaction becomes jacking each other off.
Slap each other on the ass.
Slap each other on the ass. Just putting your hands all over their face, pretending like you got boobs. Just immediately. We barely played the game. We just stood around in the lobby. Like you'd just be like talking to someone, and then one of my other buddies would be like, "Hey guys, look at me!" And he's got his gun like aimed at his head, like a big rifle in his mouth.
You're describing, I cannot wait for, inevitably in 36 months when we're all in the metaverse and every meeting you have in the future will be in the metaverse. And everyone's I got to teach my parents how to put on Oculus goggles or something horrible. The first HR violation in the metaverse that you're going to genuinely have to go to somebody's office and go like, so you can't slap people on the ass in the metaverse.
That person's office is going to be in the metaverse, and they're going to be dressed as like a giant Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog. It's like, you can't do that.
They're a busty Mario. You're like, please don't sexualize me.
It's especially because like you don't have a suit on, so it takes you emote with your hands a lot, and that's kind of how you get your point across. I do that anyway.
Yeah.
But I just picture like the big busty Mario with just these hands like, don't sexualize me. Like everyone's hands are moving.
Floating white glove hands.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly,
just like hello.
exactly.
You can't. We are not ready for what the world will give us.
No,
we are not ready. We should not be given this responsibility. Like you just said, you're like, I haven't seen you guys in so long. Immediately, you're like slapping me around,
just jacking off. The first thing they taught me was how to properly jack off and release your hand so that it looks like you like throw the cum.
Yes, you were going to completion.
The weird thing is like,
wow,
I know
what a world.
I like.
I wish I could explain to my grandfather who came home from World War II what we could have done in the future. And he's like, the reason I fought is so that you could enter a virtual reality where you and your friends could fake jack off.
I like the idea that like you go to your grandpa and you're like, hey, Grampy.
Yeah, old Grampy.
Hey, old Grampy. That's what you used to call your
That's
grandpa.
what I do, yeah.
Hey, you sack of shit, old Grampy.
Smack one.
When you were in, you were in Iwo Jima, right? You fought in Iwo Jima.
Yeah, he was in the Pacific window, yeah.
Yeah, you were in the Pacific window. When you were there, like
theater, sorry.
Theater, I was going to say.
I know.
Yeah.
I screwed up.
As he would have called it, the Oriental Theater.
And they would have been like, different time. Different time.
Sorry, that's the Chinese theater in LA. That's right. No, so you say to that son of a bitch,
Oh, Grampy.
When you first like conglomerated with your group, you were like with your group.
Conglomerated?
Yeah, in the trenches. When you're in the trenches and you're like talking over, like,
it's really cold.
did you like pretend to jack off all your buddies? Because I play war in VR all the time, and the first thing that we do is we jack off our buddies.
You know what? You say this, and it is, first of all, it's a very funny joke. But second of all, I bet you a lot of their humor was like, hey, look at my dick.
That's true.
Hey, buddy, look at my dick. And it was like, that guy's dick's out. And they're like, oh, God, that guy's so funny. All right, let's go kill some Germans.
I just heard Big Poppy, baseball player, tell a story that there was someone on his team that had a huge dick. And if they were slumping, he would hit them on the back with his dick to like turn things around.
Right. The New York Yankees had a gold thong that slumping players would wear in the game, and it would break the slump.
Oh my God.
And it got out eventually because the reporters were like, so what's all this about? And they're like, well, we wear it. And yeah, God, I hope they're washing it. But yeah, it's
It seems like a prehistoric sense of humor, if I'm being honest.
I agree. Oh. I see what you're doing here.
Yeah, well, our game is Joe and Mac, which is a prehistoric game.
Yes, there we go.
And that is the most prehistoric sense of humor that you could possibly talk about.
You know what? We could go to the internet, we can go to the metaverse, and genital humor is very funny. And I think the only thing is the internet doesn't have consequences. So that's like why people are worried about it. But that sense of humor, probably in prehistoric times, they're like, hey, look at my dick. You're like, oh, that's very funny. Look at this guy's dick.
I went to, not to name drop, but I went to Pompeii once.
Whoa.
Post-explosion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's less cool then.
That's less cool. And that you'd like go around and there would be like theaters and stuff with just like big giant dicks painted everywhere, like graffiti of dicks. Dick humor has always been a thing.
I've been to Pompeii as well. Sorry.
Post-explosion?
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay.
I think so.
Oh, here's how you know.
Okay.
Was there a house with a couple that was petrified holding each other? Because that's post-explosion.
No, when I saw them, they were like, "Get out of my house, please." Looked at me and like, "Please, we're so scared." But did you go to the brothel in Pompeii?
Yes.
That's like a famous one because one of the few houses that's like very much still put together.
Yes.
Is the brothel. And you're like, huh. So we've always been like this, huh?
We've always been this way.
Okay,
We've
good.
always been this way.
And then for a weird couple, and then every 100 years we go, tisk, tisk, do not do that. And then we're like, no, we're going to do it. And like, okay, cool.
We're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And Joe and Mac were probably doing it too.
With each other?
Well, maybe.
Yeah. No judgment.
No judgment.
Good for them.
Actually,
Glad they found each
it
other.
turns out this Joe and Mac were up to no good sexually. This is actually kind of canonical. We'll get into some of the trivia a little bit. Nick Canonical. But they got into, there was some controversy about Joe and Mac and the way that they carried themselves. But a game...
I cannot wait to hear what the hell you're talking about.
You won't be surprised, but it's a weird story, so that's fun to tell on the podcast.
Okay.
So it's called, it originally released in 1991 in arcades, later came to the SNES, Genesis, NES, Game Boy, Amiga, Switch, and PC. It's been all over the place.
Fantastic.
1991, as I mentioned, it was developed by Dada East. I want to get into kind of their history as a development company because they have way more games than I expected. But the game was originally called Caveman Ninja or Caveman Ninja, Joe and Mac. And I just think like at a certain point, video games couldn't sell unless they were like ninjas or like swords or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, these guys were not ninjas. They were cavemen. But
What? Do you think they just pulled things out of a hat? Caveman? Ninja. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
if they did, if you're trying to sell me a game called Joe and Mac, and I'm like, okay, that sounds kind of dumb. And you're like, what if they're cavemen? And I'm like, go on.
Yeah.
Cavemen ninjas?
I'm just throwing money at you.
like a ninja would throw a star at you.
I guess so.
So other games developed by Dada East, Burger Time, Pro Bowling, Pro Soccer, Cobra Command, Diet, Go. Because there's 2 exclamation marks after
Oh,
go.
okay. Nice.
Rampage, Captain America and the Avengers, 2 Crude Dudes.
2 crude dudes?
Crude
Whoa.
Dudes. It's a real game.
Like the crudes.
And here's one that might give you a little bit of a hint into why they named this game Caveman Ninja. Does that name remind you of anything?
Should it?
Possibly. It's a bit of a stretch, but it could.
All right.
Do you remember Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja?
Of course.
Same company.
Oh, really?
So I think at a certain point they were like, adding ninja to the titles really does a number on our sales here. We should do this more often.
Are you going to change the game enough? Not at all.
Not at all. So maybe like a shuriken or boomerang and stones. Yeah. Giant velociraptors.
When was this game released?
1991, originally in arcades.
It is around the period where America did fall in love with ninjas and ninja-esque things.
Yes, I think when we did the Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja, that was one of the reasons why they included that in the title. It was just there was an obsession with ninjas, and that kind of came before the idea of the game.
What, Beverly Hills Ninja?
And by the way, I kept saying Data
ninjas.
East. It's Data East.
Oh, I thought it was okay.
Like Daddy East. Because people always make fun of my pronunciation. We got called out for how we pronounce. Now
you're in your head.
Mario.
Is it? So what's the right one?
It's well, they say Mario.
M-A-Y, like Mario.
But I say Mario.
Mario. But you made fun of me one time for doing it. So was I right the whole time?
Did I make fun of you?
Yeah, you were always like, Mario.
I always thought it was Mario, Super Mario.
It's a Mario. Yeah, say, wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Now I got to listen to people on the internet. Like, what? Who knows that guy's right?
Yeah.
Which I 1,000% promise it was a guy.
We should dox him. We should dox him for sure.
We absolutely should dox this guy. Okay, good. Give me his home address.
Okay, it is. I want to talk about 2 Crude Dudes for a second.
Absolutely.
That is the greatest name since Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja.
Yeah.
2 Crude Dudes is so I saw the cover. I looked up the cover of 2 Crude Dudes, and there are two dudes on the cover. You
makes
could
sense.
describe them as crude.
Could you?
And they're sitting there just flexing. They're just flexing their sleeveless arms all over the place.
Hot.
And it made me have a question.
Okay.
With all covers in the 80s and 90s, what is the conceit in something like that? Why, to whom are they flexing? Why are we okay with covers of guys just flexing?
Well,
what is the who are they doing this for?
Well, I assume it's like a fantasy. You're like, I wish I could be this guy.
Right, but so in the cover, the character knows someone is watching them.
Oh, I see.
You see what I mean?
I see.
What is the context of them just standing on the street with flames behind them and helicopters crashing?
Yeah.
While they flex.
Well, I think it's yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I don't know.
Because could you imagine what that would look like in real life?
Yeah.
It would not be cool.
Well, this is like, and then
Or it would be really fucking cool.
Super cool, like unbelievably cool. Like holy shit, they're just stopping to pose. Oh my god, they have no sense of danger at all. They're so confident in their abilities. But like a couple years later, there's a really good podcast I heard about like romance novels and like what we.
I don't remember doing that episode.
Yeah,
And we're really
it
good
wasn't
podcast.
ours. It wasn't ours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't ours. Wasn't the sign off?
You listen to other podcasts?
It wasn't the sign
It
off?
wasn't the sign off? A framework
fairly
podcast?
Sure, it was the sign off.
Sports marketing podcast? Another podcast that I did?
Okay, well, I guess it was, but that like there was a lot of derision about like these drugstore books and stuff like that. Oh,
Right.
they're drivel. They're bad for anything.
Right.
But really, like a lot of they top 10 books of the year. 9 of them would be those kind of books, right?
Yes.
But those covers also became its own style of art and stuff like that, and it's incredibly similar to what you're describing.
Yes.
Just big ripped people in like very precarious positions posing.
Yeah.
And you're like, who is this? But I guess it's in that idea would be like the way you used to pose for a painting. You know what I mean?
Sure.
In the same way that like, in 17th century Victoria and stuff like that, a guy would rip off his sleeves and pose like
with explosions.
Yes,
before explosions were invented.
Yeah, exactly. The gods are angry.
It's crazy to think about there was a time when explosions didn't exist.
Was it a better time?
I mean, you didn't have general anesthetic, so no.
No.
I mean, that's always what I go to.
Oh God, some of the stuff like the Nick. Like watch the Nick again. Like the Steven Soderbergh
It's
show.
a great show.
It's a great
Clive
show.
Owen.
But it makes you. It's about like the first hospital in New York.
Yes.
And
The Knickerbocker.
The Knickerbocker, whereas that's where the name came from. But is that like you watch it and you're like, oh, so I think I just would have accepted death at 21.
Easy.
Yeah, just like, well, that's
Easy.
it for me. I broke my leg. Put me down like a horse.
Someone had syphilis and they're like, let's just give her an insane fever for like a week.
Yes, exactly. Cocaine and drain most of their blood out their body. Like,
With
oh,
leeches.
fun.
Leeches. God damn. Yeah, that would be absolutely miserable. And it makes me think, because I think nowadays about the fact, like I had surgery on my sinus not too long ago.
Right, nose job.
Rhinoplasty. They did a great job.
It looks perfect.
Yeah, of course. They open you up and just cut things and stitch it together. And I bet you that is going to be vile to people in 100 years.
Oh yeah.
What do you mean you just cut someone open and wired them closed?
Yeah, like
What
with
do
a
you-
metal offset, like you weren't using lasers or nanobots.
No, it's going to be all nanobots and stem cells. Like that's going to be it.
Man. Freeze me now. Freeze me like Walt Disney. Let's just do it.
Honestly.
But yet, we talk about technology and yet you can freeze me.
You can.
I don't. Is that going to work? Are we like real about this? Like we're just
The freezing stuff?
Yeah, like
I don't think so.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I mean,
doesn't feel
think
like
about
it.
You put like a chicken sandwich in your freezer for 3 weeks. You're not.
Like a whole chicken sandwich. Like the chicken sandwich is like in the bread already with lettuce and stuff like that, and you freeze it like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's all
What the-
together, you don't need to put it in Tupperware or anything. You just put it in the freezer.
Oh, you just didn't wrap it at all.
Why would you? I don't wrap the heads and hearts that I put in there either. So why am I going to wrap the chicken sandwich? What if the head wakes up because freezing could work?
Exactly. Yes.
And then it's hungry. It's going to eat the sandwich. It has no hands to open the Tupperware, Andrew. Do you understand
It's
this?
like an Egyptian crypt where they used to put food and a couple people in there just to help him out. Like, I don't know, if he wakes up, you should really be able to. Then the ball starts closing. You're like, uh-oh.
Oh, no. Oh,
God.
no.
Here goes my life.
So enough about two crude dudes.
Okay.
We got enough of that with just you and me hosting this podcast.
That was pretty crude.
The gameplay. Joe, he's got green hair. And Mac, he's got blue hair. Apparently they had like a spa that they could go to dye their hair back in the prehistoric times. I don't know. They go full on Chris Pratt.
Chris
Pratt. Chris Pratt. And they battle dinosaurs.
Oh,
That's what they do.
Very good.
I mean, we're talking throwing stones. We're talking throwing
Speaking
boomerangs.
of Mario, Chris Pratt.
Oh, yes.
We didn't talk about that at all in this podcast.
Why would we?
It's a stupid story, and I hate it.
I just feel like we don't need to talk about it. But
we're
I
not
feel like
talking
they're
about it.
mimicking the Sonic. They're trying to get Sonic level success. And this one feels like the one that's going to miss.
But it drives me crazy because there's very few characters more famous than Mario in the video game world. I think I'm trying to say
just
it
said
right.
Mario.
Okay, good. I'm trying to say it right.
I say
Based
Mario. I'm pretty sure it's Mario.
I believe you.
Yes.
I believe you. But is that it's just I am gonna vomit with anger when Chris Pratt is like, so wait, you want me to eat this mushroom? I'm like, oh my God, I am gonna burn this theater to the
Where
ground.
they try to make it real. They should just lean into the absurdity of it.
I don't know. I think we've done enough of that.
I think he should go on he should trip balls.
No, because also he was the voice of a character that did this already in the Lego movie.
Oh, right.
This is also
Yes.
this is kind of weird, right? And you're like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep going like this is like the Old Spice of movies now at this point where it's like, it's got to be super weird, right? Like, no, just make something earnest. Like, it's not the worst
about
in the
that
world.
with like every new game announced at E3. It was like, oh, I'm shooting magic out of my hands. I guess I shoot magic out of my hands now.
Yeah.
Like, stop.
Star
What are you
Wars.
doing? Yeah.
They fly now? They fly now. They fly now? They fly now. He's back. Okay, sorry.
I just think this whole idea of like fighting dinosaurs.
Yes.
Wholesome. Great. It's awesome.
Also predating Jurassic Park.
Predating Jurassic Park, 1991. But is it wholesome? Because here's the objective.
Oh, no.
You have to rescue women who were kidnapped from other rival caveman groups. And the game starts out, in the Japanese version at least, and this is where I was talking about the issues with Joe and Mac, allegedly. It starts with them basically like kicking their way into a tent and walking out, dragging two women by their hair.
Cool.
And it was removed from the North American release.
Yeah.
Wonder why. And Data East had this to say about it. We didn't want kids to see the Japanese display and think it was okay.
Oh, the problem was the Japanese.
The Japanese.
Okay, way to really pass the blame off on that one.
Now, here's the thing, is the quote that I read had the block brackets, so they did change the Japanese display. It could have just tried to be in reference to what it was, but I can't imagine it being much worse than what we just read, and it's not great.
It's not great.
It's not great.
You need to respect our women. They drag them out by the hair like, Jesus Christ.
That's the scary thing.
Yeah.
So the boys have some learning to do. They do have prehistoric tendencies. Andrew, a different time.
A different time.
Different time.
Different time. Thank God they weren't around during cancel culture.
Oh, man.
God.
Cancel that
culture.
T-Rex.
Yeah.
Just running around with his nuts out like it's no big deal.
You can't do that.
You can't do that anymore.
Can't do that, T-Rex.
Back in that day, though. I think you could get away with it.
Just like old Grampy.
So one cool thing about this game, a little bit ahead of its time, there was a little bit of choice in terms of the paths that you chose to get through the levels. I remember I used to play this game a shit ton with my brother. This was one of our favorite games to play on the Genesis. And you beat a boss and you get to kind of determine which path you take, and we try to take the easiest path because it was a really hard game. I remember it being hard that we could barely get past the second level. You got to remember, its first entry, different time. Games were harder in the prehistoric era.
They were.
It started in arcade, so the goal was to get quarters out of you.
Yeah.
And the Genesis version is apparently the closest to the arcade version.
Oh, good.
That's probably both in terms of difficulty and gameplay.
Yeah.
The Genesis
and misogynistic.
and misogyny. Yes, exactly. The arcade cabinet was so misogynistic.
It was like, we can't even describe to you fully how bad it was.
Hey, honey, you should smile more.
Yes.
What? Press B to smile more.
Try wearing a shorter skirt next time. What the fuck?
You'd be cute if you let your hair down.
Mac and Joe suck.
McEnroe?
Yeah, McEnroe. Yeah, McEnroe.
So
He also kinda sucks.
we'll see how it goes. The game was received pretty well, 75% average, but reviews were hard to come by at that time. I think the 75% average is bullshit. I think this is a better game. This game is incredibly popular. It's been recreated a million times. They announced that there's going to be a remake coming out at some point in 2022 as well.
Oh, God.
Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And it's going to start with that scene of them walking into the tent.
Oh no.
And then it's just going to end with them getting kicked out. But it's going to be like a play on that, I bet. Like they walk in and the women end up with dragging them by the hair.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, so it's okay when women beat men for you, Andrew?
You know what? To be honest, I hated that idea too. It's just so sticky. I'm like, oh god, I hope they don't do that.
Exactly.
That's like the Marvel's Avengers going like, don't worry, I got him. Like, oh crap.
I know.
You think this is progressive, don't you?
Here's the one scene to make up for 12 years of...
We know we've released about 30 of these movies. None of them star women, so here we go. You know.
Here's 30 seconds of women kicking ass.
And then eventually you're drawing attention to it, guys.
Exactly. Yeah. So do you, now that we've kind of talked about this game a little bit more, do you recall, did you play a lot of it?
I didn't play a ton of it, but I definitely remember this game. It's got very distinctive cover art that is like burned into my brain, what they're wearing, and the gameplay as a whole too. You know, like the problem is we talk about this from time to time where it's like these side-scrolling kind of two-player adventures. It's a very ubiquitous time for these kind of games. And so there is a little bit of bleed in between these different games. I will say the reason I remember this instead of just two bad dudes walking down the streets and kicking the shit out of people.
Two crude dudes.
Well, I don't know if they're crude. They could have been two polite guys
who respect women.
Putting their jackets down past the curbs so the people don't have to step in the water.
Oh,
what was that all about?
That is a mean thing women made us do as men. They owe us.
Why in the world did we think we had to do that?
Putting your jacket on a puddle so a woman could walk.
Well, and then I'm just holding this wet jacket.
No.
Like, okay.
No, that's what shoes are for. Shoes are so that the skin on your feet don't go, I'm wet now.
Yeah, exactly.
And now you want my jacket to go there and my whole body go, I'm wet now?
Yeah. I think there's like a movie where like he takes off one item at a time because she keeps walking in puddles.
And he's like
Leslie
Nielsen.
Yeah, that sounds like that. Yeah. Okay. But yes, it's very ubiquitous at the time, but I think the prehistoric setting makes it stand out when it's a very busy time for this kind of game.
Yeah, I think in a time when it was just like Contra and guns and aliens and bullets and shooting and this and that, the good fellas over at Data East said, let's bring it back.
Yeah.
Slow things down.
Yeah.
Let's take it back
to a better time.
To a better time. When you could just walk out of a tent with women carrying by the hair.
Where you were running away from 30-foot lizards all the time.
All the time.
How much is dinosaurs the bad people or is it another tribe?
There is another tribe as well. Dinosaurs are usually the boss.
Oh, the boss.
So
those tribes work for a dinosaur? Or
the dinosaurs work for the tribes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's
that makes sense.
But they get paid well.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
The unionized. Yeah,
the unionized.
Okay, good.
It's like the Flintstones. They have hard hats.
It's a living.
Punch tickets. Did you play it enough to give it a rating, a retro score, or do you want to?
I would like to abstain
from sex.
Sure, that too. Until I make a judgment finally on whether I like sex or I remember this game well enough.
Okay, sounds good. So I'll hold my review then as well. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to give it our ratings. My rating based on what I definitely thought about it when I played it back in the day. Your rating based on either what you thought about it if you recall enough of what you played, or your interpretation of what you would have thought about it had you played a little bit more when you were a kid, and then also our rating out of 4 bits based on how the game holds up in the modern day against the likes of modern games like Arizona Sunshine and Horizon Zero Dawn.
I'm sorry, what do you do in Arizona Sunshine? Did you ever get to that point?
You jack off your buddies. What the fuck are you talking about?
Is it just like a Second Life type thing? Or?
It's like a horde mode zombie thing. There's also a story mode where you're going from place to place, like open up a car. Oh, there's some bullets there. I'm going to take them, shoot a zombie in there.
Sounds great.
It's amazing.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It's amazing.
Okay.
Okay, so let's take a break.
Okay.
Let's go Mac on Joe.
Okay.
And
what does that mean?
We're going to Mac on Joe.
Okay. I don't think I'm any closer to the answer on that one, but
honestly, Andrew, if you figured it out, you got to let me know because I'm lost right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I've told you, but I'm abstaining from sex also too. So I don't know.
But it's involuntary though, isn't it? You're involuntarily celibate. What was the name of the group you told me about that was all about that?
I don't think this is. I don't want to blow up their spot. Let's play this game.
You don't want to blow up your spot?
Blow up my spot?
Your spot?
No, I don't want to blow up my spot.
Oh, okay.
My cool spot.
Okay. All right. We'll see you guys on the other side.
Wow.
1991.
There is
Data East Corporation.
Something very
erotic about Joe and Mac?
Well, yeah, but that was a separate thing. There is something incredibly arcadey that I love about it. Like that hits me in a nostalgia sector that I didn't even know I had.
It just feels like before arcades were like, you need guns and glamour and biceps. They were like, what if we don't need that?
Yeah.
What if we're just bad dudes with a boomerang?
It's like cell shaded art from a cartoon that came to life. Like it's so clean and tight and stuff like that instead of like everything's so detailed. It's like glossy and I love it.
Boom. Joe and Mac.
Here we go, Joe. Here we go, Mac.
Let's see options. Lives 2. We're going to bump that all the way to 3. That's it.
3?
Continues. We're going to go all the way up to 4. That's it.
Oh my God.
Okay, so control A, big jump. I like that the... What?
Difficulty normal? You're fucking mind?
Yeah, let's go easy. I like that.
Thank you.
Control, I like A, big jump.
Big
B,
jump.
Fire. C, jump.
That's
cool.
I know you're not offending anyone specifically,
Caveman.
but it sounds offensive. I just want to make that incredibly
Well,
clear.
if I'm not insulting anyone specifically, I feel like I'm not doing my job as a comedian. All right, here we go. So here's
Okay.
the bad boy cavemen walking into a tent. Okay, so they're dragging them out by their hair.
I thought you weren't supposed to do it. Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
No.
There's one guy who's really struggling to bring a little bit of a heftier woman out.
Why did we ever get rid of cherries as a really good bonus that's delicious? You know what I mean?
You mean just in terms of like a health pickup?
Yeah. Oh, double jump. I can jump off you?
That's amazing.
That is so...
Oh, I cracked an egg and a little dinosaur came out of it.
Wait, can I hurt you? No, okay, then how did I
Thank
get
God
hurt?
we can't.
Oh, I got hurt on the Velociraptor.
Oh, big jump.
Oh, for crap.
So
Let's
there's
go.
corn and fully baked cakes, so that who's
Yeah.
got the technology to do that?
Yeah, the fully like baked. Whoa, okay, there's a helicopter. What are we doing? There's like a Gilligan's Island style helicopter.
I like this though because now we're also running across a big dinosaur, which is cool too.
Yes, it is. Is the dinosaur dead or sleeping?
I think it's gonna wake up and we're gonna be fucked. Oh shit.
Oh, yeah, okay. We need to figure this out here, Mikey. The dinosaur's awoke, by the way.
The
He was
dinosaur
alive.
is
he was
woke.
alive.
The dinosaur is protesting in all the right ways. Is very woke. So
Okay.
a good thing to keep in mind is that you can jump on enemies and things.
You can, because the Velociraptor I couldn't. The pterodactyl I couldn't.
Oh shit! Oh, actually, you've got a good strategy.
Yeah, I got a
going.
good strategy.
And I'm getting my ass.
If
kicked.
I get any closer, though, the tail comes at you.
So I'm just dying here. And I'm dying a lot. So Andrew's found a spot where he can just kind of stand.
Spam it.
In a typical, it's right under his chin where he can't have any attacks hit you.
You know what, Mikey?
That's so typical of this era of gaming, And I love it.
It is typical of this era of gaming. And you know what? If I was under a T-Rex's little snout, I don't think he'd see me either.
The platforming is not easy in this.
No, it is. It's actually quite difficult. Look at these two idiots, just hoping to... Can I jump on top of them?
Yes, you can jump on top. Let's both jump on top of him. I'm jumping on you and you jumped on top of him. And that was just teamwork.
That is the absolute definition of teamwork. There you go. Look at this. We're actually figuring this out.
We're getting this. I love jumping on your head. Okay, so we got a little shop of horrors situation going on here.
Yeah.
And this boss, I remember this boss. It's got
What do we do?
piranha vines.
Piranha vibes?
Oh, you can't even touch them. I thought maybe you could jump on them. This is hard. This guy.
This is really hard.
I literally can't even hit him.
Okay, I will say, just comedy's sake, the vines came out and didn't hit him, didn't hit anyone, and then he shook the vine at us. Like, he was like shaking his fist.
You son of a bitch. Oh, I'm dead again. Fucking hell. Who knew? We beat a whole giant dinosaur.
Yeah, and it was a plant that's alive.
And our issue is a plant.
Mother Nature, right? Am I right?
Mother Nature. Motherfucker, more like.
There we go. Let's go get this woman that's been tied up. Oh, God.
Now let's leave her there. She got herself in a situation where we died 3 times trying to... Why'd she kiss you?
Because I did a better job.
Yeah, but I was the one who figured you get really close. Okay, so we can go A or B. Let's go A. So there's two ways you can go, course A, course B, and they actually change the path you take to get through the prehistoric jungle.
Okay, I will never get sick of this generation of games that we do on here. And when
Getting attacked off screen.
getting attacked, it's unbelievable that you're just like, you just walk yourself into, what do you call them, health taxes?
Basically a health tax. You have no way of knowing. And these there are bees everywhere. Bees? Okay, I think there's a boss coming up, eh?
Yeah, because
there's a tied up
Man,
woman,
the levels are
that's how you know.
short, eh?
Because they're hard.
It's gonna be a pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl comes in with two eggs.
Yeah.
They look like little testicles.
Burnt!
Oh, fuck. I jumped right into him.
for fuck. Oh, man. I died again.
I jumped into his pterodactyl.
Oh, and you jumped up and the children got me.
Remember how I said I like this boss?
Yeah, I hate this boss.
This boss is a little dickhead.
Stupid testicles flaunting them at me.
Fucking hell, he's hard. He's not fair anymore.
Play fair.
Play fair.
Let us
Play
kill
by the
you.
rules. Oh, you just jumped me into him.
Okay, relax. The
Oh,
world's an unfair
man,
place.
he's hard.
We're almost done. We're almost there. One
Almost
tick of
there.
health left. Oh, I keep jumping into him.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
tough. Him and his kids. I keep jumping into them.
You want to get her?
I want to get her. I jumped on your head and you got her. I like the
Another
celebration.
smooch for Andy B.
Why are you getting all the smooches?
Because I keep untying them. It's just a weird sentence.
It's true though. That's what women like. Learning the different tropes of these games is always interesting because it's like everything that's taught me in a platformer is like if you have a water spurt, it's gonna get like it's a platformer. It's gonna get you up to a higher level. Not so in this game.
No, this game you got to be scared of water.
I feel like this is one of the most unforgiving platform games that we've played. In spite of the fact that it goes so slow. Oh, we got another boss coming
already.
Whoa.
For fuck.
Dolphins. I remember this level. I actually do. My brother and I did play through this.
These dolphins have teeth, and I don't like it. Okay, it seems.
We have teeth. Do you not like us?
No, humans are the worst.
That's true. No, just try standing on one of the very sides.
Got her already.
Oh, I want to. God damn it!
Another smooch.
She's so bashful.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. So there's 3 bosses in this. Oh no, we just killed an electric fish. It just jumped in the water. We're going to course B this time. Of course we are. Oh, I remember. We're riding on the heads of dinosaurs, and you can control where they went. Lapras, yeah, a giant Lapras. I guess
You want to go
regular
high
size
low?
Lapras.
Well, pears don't.
Oh, there's a Diet Coke.
There's sushi, Diet Coke, strawberries. The classic caveman diet. Like when they talk about the caveman
diet, it's Diet Coke,
Diet Coke,
strawberries,
sushi,
and heavy sushi.
and lots of fruit. I can't believe how short these levels are.
Okay, we got Onyx.
Yeah, now we got off Lapras. Now we're Onyxed. There we go.
I think we found a way to cheese him all right. Oh no, he's going down.
He's learned. He's
learned.
mad.
He's mad as hell.
Oh God. No, Jesus, he's just spitting out fish. Okay,
Maybe that's where the sushi comes from.
What is with the villains of this game?
Spitting out
Live animals and
spitting
people.
out live animals.
People. The first one, the dinosaurs spitting out humans that were like, all right, let's get them.
You know what? I like this boss.
You like this boss?
Predictable, easy to go. This boss, I feel like we could beat him without taking a hit if we were better in this game.
And except,
I say literally as we're getting
all
hit.
we've done is take lots of hits.
He's gonna jump up. Other side. See, I predicted it. Oh, fucking hell.
What else did you predict? Your own demise?
I got him! Oh, I'm gonna get the kiss. I'm gonna get the kiss. I'm gonna get the kiss. You're dead. You can't get the kiss.
No woman on this turn.
God damn it! Oh, there she is.
Oh, and then she made a face like, ew. That's weird. Oh, am I dead?
I think you're dead.
And I'm totally satisfied with that option. It's going to be another pterodactyl, man. Oh.
Nope. I got it. So if there are eggs in this game,
Yeah.
and we're not talking about the women we're saving.
What?
And if you crack them, sometimes there's enemies in them, but sometimes
There's sushi.
you get a little sushi.
Or you get a cupcake.
Or a weapon. Oh, a sausage. I do find it very funny that fuck, I hit the wrong button. That is so dumb.
So Mikey jumps, hits a pterodactyl, and then it plummets to his own death. And there he goes, playing harp. Obviously, the prehistoric cavemen were Christians with their angelic view of the afterlife.
Game over. Well, Andrew, you want to talk about this weird romp through the prehistoric era of where in the world do you think this was?
Argentina.
I don't know enough about geography to tell you you're wrong, but I think you're probably wrong.
Is the answer Pangea?
Pangea.
Pangea?
I think this is post Littlefoot getting separated from his mom.
Oh,
Which,
God,
like,
now I'm going
isn't
to
it-
think about that for the rest of my
Isn't
life.
it crazy that like they just so happen to be on the exact fault line that Pangea started from?
Talking about a bad day.
Talk about a bad day. Millions of years go by, you couldn't have a day worse than that.
Littlefoot.
Littlefoot, big heart.
Very good. Love it. It's very caveman of you.
All right, let's go talk about this game.
And welcome back to the Retrograde.
Whoa, I was not ready for that, but I am here to stay.
Why are you not ready for it? You have your headphones in, you're in front of your microphone.
I was biting my lip.
Why were you biting your lip?
I was itchy underneath my mustache, and I didn't want to use my hands.
Your soup strainer?
My soup strainer. My brother, I was talking to my brother the other day, and he was like...
second Redford brother.
As I do.
You're co-host of the Jackass. I'm just free, this is Synergy, guys.
Jackass is a podcast where we review each and every episode of the TV show Jackass and all the spin-offs. You can find that at Jackass, the Jackass podcast. We were talking, and we were talking about beards, because Ryan Dunn is a person on one of those shows.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, who has a big beard.
Big beard.
And we were like, oh, Chris, would you want a big beard like that? And he's like, I don't know, because like all the soup that gets stuck in there. And I'm like, wait a second.
How much soup are you eating?
Soup, natural enemy of beards? What is...
Also, soup, I understand the mustache, because you got to shovel soup into your mouth, right?
Yes.
And the mustache goes over your top lip. Totally understand that. Explain the rest of the beard, how it gets in your mouth.
Well, because when it hits the mustache, it drips around the spoon, and instead of just falling in your lap where it's supposed to, it goes in your beard.
Okay, I'm going to say something crazy here. What if you ate a soup like you eat a smoothie? Just with a straw and a lid, and you're just like, soup.
Well, because usually you have big chunks of chicken or other stuff.
No, I'm talking about consommes. I'm talking about tomato soup. I'm talking about
you know what?
Bone broth.
I've been somewhere that serves their consommes and bone broth in a coffee cup. It's great. It's great.
That's great.
Go to the dog park. You got a little secret, and this time it ain't alcohol, so you feel good about it. But
I would totally drink it like that.
It's the best way to do it. But bone broth. Lots of that in Joe and Mac.
Oh my God, you're right. Well, actually, funny enough, of all the food that you were able to eat, none of it was time appropriate.
None of it was cooked dinosaur.
Well, it could have been just a bone, like a ham hock. Like a big piece of meat on a bone. You're like, yum. You're like, that's good. But instead, it's like French patisseries
and a can of Coke
and sushi,
like a rolled thing of Ebby. It's great. I honestly, that was my favorite part about the game. I think, in hindsight,
I actually liked. Yes, I liked. I was like, what am I going to get this time? They're like
a pear, okay.
A pineapple upside down cake. Oh, okay.
A fully cooked cake.
Yes, exactly.
A cooked cake, a baked cake.
Duck l'orange. Okay, yeah, wonderful.
All the power ups come out of vending machines.
Oh, I got in this one a handgun. What?
The weirdest thing to me was when you inject yourself with steroids, you get the syringe power up. I'm like, hey, I didn't even know you had metal for the syringe in this.
Yeah,
it's made out of like bone. It's a bone syringe.
Bone syringe.
Yeah,
like Flintstones. We bring it back to Flintstones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we had to take someone's like thigh bone and empty it out. There's a very Gilligan's Island style, invention system in this game. Like their helicopters.
Like the helicopters.
Like the helicopters is just like, Gilligan's Island. Biggest flaw with Gilligan's Island is always like, you can invent a radio, but just get off the island.
Right,
like, what are you doing here, right?
But did he really want to?
No.
That's the thing.
I think they're running away from the problems.
I think they're cowards.
What if it was just purgatory?
So we're talking about Lost?
Shit, yeah, they did that already. It's Lost. Shit, spoiler alert to Lost.
Is that the end?
You never saw the end of Lost?
I've never finished Lost.
You never finished Lost?
No, why would I? I wasn't enjoying it.
Oh, Mikey. Why do you deprave yourself of such pleasures in this world?
Why do you keep calling it depraving yourself?
You do.
You're depraved if you're like a sadistic person with heads in their freezer and un-Tupperwared sandwiches. That's not why I'm depraved.
It's one of the reasons.
No, I don't know. Honestly, I got to like season 3 and halfway through, I was like, I'm not enjoying this.
3?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 was the one where it's like, oh, what is this? And then 3 got it good again. But I don't know. I love that show. That is one of the most participatory I've been in a cultural, like sensation.
Like as it's going.
Yeah, I was like, every season you're like, at the end you're like, what's going on? What do you think? You're on message boards. You're like doing this.
What are you buying? What are you selling?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yes, of course, always.
Yes.
It's a barter system, and but it's like that is the most involved I've been in like a thing that was really popular at the time.
Right.
Breaking
Bad and Game of Thrones were up there for me.
Game of Thrones, yeah, that's true. Yeah, Game of Thrones. Speaking of things that were very disappointing at the end.
Yeah.
And now you look back and every time you're like, I was a huge fan of Lost, people like snickering. You're like, hey, it was good. And it's the same thing with Game of Thrones all of a sudden now. And it's like, for 95% of that show, it was good.
See, I don't know, because I remember even talking to people who were watching Lost, and most of the people I knew who were watching it were like, I don't know. I'm just going to keep watching it. We'll see how it goes. I loved the first season until the end. And then I didn't like anything else from there. So I just stopped watching. But I've heard that the ending is mixed. Did you like the ending?
I would say it's mixed. It's one of those, it's very similar to something we were just, I can't remember what we were talking about before the game because the game is now blanked everything. But it's one of those ones where at the time people were like, God, it was the worst thing I've ever done. In
Star Wars, probably?
Oh, we're talking about Han Solo.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Is that it was the worst thing of all time. And now you look back, you're like, well, it was okay. It could have been better for sure.
Yes.
But I think they had definitely painted themselves into a corner. And from season 1, people are like, so they're all dead? And they're like, no. Shit. What? Fuck, they're all dead, aren't they? Like, they don't even know their own writing. Like, they're doing the math like fucking Charlie Day and It's Always Sunny. And like,
yes.
Crap, they're all dead, aren't they? Yeah.
That's why I stopped watching. It felt like they didn't really know where they were going and they were just spinning tales to make it seem interesting without any real, like, there are clear things that happen in season 1 that are never answered. In terms of like the power dynamics,
smoke
they just
monster,
they just like drop it, and I'm like, well, I don't like.
But I will say it's like there is actually something pretty revolutionary that they did, which kind of like I would say changed television. Whereas ABC is like, great, all these people are watching the show, make as much as humanly possible of the show, and the creators after season Damon Lindelof, one of your favorites,
The Leftovers.
At the end of season 2 is like, we are making 4 more of these, and that's it. And they're like, well, no, you're going to make fucking 15 of these. And he's like, no, we're making 4 more of these.
Yeah.
And it gave, then at that point, the story became a lot more refined because they were going towards a point.
Yeah.
Whether that point was satisfying or not is up to it's up to opinion. But at least they were like, okay, we're not doing this the whole time. And then that's when it got good again.
Well, listen, since I was a kid and I first played Joe and Mac, I feel like my whole life has been leading up to this point to playing it again for this next time in my life. My whole life.
It's been leading up to this?
It's all I've been thinking about. And let me tell you.
God.
I feel like I've left a lot on the table.
Yeah, you have some regrets.
I feel like I should have been focused on some other things. I've never felt true love. Should I have felt true love instead of thinking of playing Joe and Mac?
Mikey, this is, you have, my God, you've made some serious mistakes.
Is it good? Is true love good?
Mixed bag, but that's kind of like, it's without the sour, it's not sweet, You know what I mean?
So love has to do with the taste of your lover. Because I've tasted some sour people.
Have
I been in love?
I immediately want to say, no, that's not true. But you know what? It doesn't hurt if they taste good.
Okay.
Yeah. Because some people don't taste good.
I have some people in my freezer that taste great.
No, let's not
have
do
I
freezer.
been in love?
Let's not do freezer stuff again. Have you been in love? I don't know. Have you been in love?
Well, I'm asking you. I've tasted good people. I've tasted good people.
Okay.
And also I did love Joe and Mac as a kid.
Do you still love Joe and Mac? Yeah.
No, I don't. This was a very interesting experience for me. You know what this speaks to, and we deal with this all the time. Our mind as dumb little kids, when we're first playing these sorts of games, our mind fills in so many of the blanks and changes so much of our experience when it comes time for us to look back on those experiences.
Yeah.
One of the, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this.
Well, you're going to get them.
Whether I like it or not.
Whether you like it or not.
I'm not that curious. Whenever we go back to play a game, and I have a specific memory of that game from this era, in my mind, it's always faster than what it ends up being when we go back and play.
That's interesting.
Joe and Mac, not that I expected to be able to run around the screen, but this is slow. It's so slow.
Yeah.
The same thing with Super Ghoulies and Ghosties, as you always talk about.
I was going to bring up that game exact as a direct reference to this one.
There are a lot of weird similarities to it.
The animation style is almost a 1-to-1.
Yep. And I feel like the jumping is much less forgiving in this game.
And they're also both brutally difficult.
Although with Super Ghouls and Ghosts, you don't have the ability. Ghoulies and Ghosties.
Oh, that game. Yeah, that was good.
Ghoulies and Ghosties, you don't have the ability to like increase your number of continues and lives and everything in the same way that you can in this, which we made it through a good chunk of the game because we went on easy mode, put the lives up to max and put the continues up to max. And it was still like our heads were spinning trying to figure out what the fuck was going on half the time.
I can't believe, like, it's, what is bad about this game? An essay by Andrew Pasco. What's bad about this game, first and foremost, is as a like, we can get into the little parts that you're like, I don't like this, I don't like this. But as a format, what sucks about this game is the levels are minuscule and brutally difficult, just stripping away health at times where, yes, of course, there are people that will be perfect and never get touched in this game, and congratulations to you, but for the most part, the average person is going to get health taxes from things coming off screen on either side, and then the levels are 30 seconds, and then you're at a boss, and you're like, what just is that enjoyable?
That's the weirdest thing, is like, you could tell playing this on hard, we probably wouldn't get past the first level.
No, absolutely not.
Unless we gave it like a lot of time, because they just jam pack a 4:3 ratio screen with so much going on in it that it's almost impossible to navigate your way through it. And again, like you said, there is a way to perfect it and master it. And that is part of the elements of these games. But we've played games from this era that don't require that amount of memorization.
Right.
And it's the memorization and the requirement of having had a past experience going through that level that kind of sticks in our craw.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right. What is a craw?
It's what a crow does.
It craws?
It craws.
Oh, stop crawling, you crows.
That's why they're called crows.
You old crow.
You talking to your grandpa again?
Yeah. Old Grampy was always like, you crows. He was a fastidious bachelor most of his life. Games are supposed to be fun, and we get into this point of these games, especially from this 5-year period where we were adopting all these arcade games to home consoles, and they didn't make the change at that point to make them the best versions that they could be at home, because the experience of playing at home is very different than the experience of playing in the arcade.
Right.
They couldn't make that conversion, and so like you have this period where you're like, there's so much good about this game. There really is. It's a unique story. The animation style is one of my most favorite things. I would get cells of this game.
The animation style is fantastic.
It's so good and tight.
And the music as well.
The music's great.
Yeah, presentation wise, wow,
love
chef's
it.
kiss.
But like, is this a fun game to play?
No, and I think that's where I fully agree with you. And this is 1991. It's a long time ago, but it's not so long before games started to
31 years.
That's crazy.
Good God.
It's crazy.
Holy shit.
Our God is not good.
Oh my God. I just like at the end of Indiana Jones, I was the old knight that just fell apart just all of a sudden. 31 years ago. Okay.
It's it's weird to think about. No, but like Contra 3 came out in 92.
Yeah.
And the thing about Contra 3 is like, yes, it jam packs the screen with a ton of enemies, but their patterns are more predictable. I feel like going through a level in Contra 3 once, I could do better going through the second time than Joe and Mac playing through it once and going through a second time. The weapon variation makes for it's way more fun in Contra than it is in Joe and Mac. You pick up like the spearheads that you can throw. You pick up, I like the stone wheels. Those were fun.
Those were good. Kind of
far between.
Boomerangs, fire.
But everything kind of worked in the exact same way. You know, there's a little bit of an arc to it. It goes straight, or it's an arc, or the wheel kind of spins on the ground. But it didn't make the gameplay more fun. It just kind of changed the strategy involved in playing through each level. Whereas in Contra, when you get like the homing missiles or the spread gun, that makes the game more fun.
Yes.
In this one, it just kind of felt like, okay, I've got this weapon right now. Everyone's a one-hit kill anyway, so it doesn't really matter whether I'm hitting them with a boomerang or the regular tomahawk that you're throwing. And because of that, I didn't find myself like excited for any pickups or really aiming for any pickups or excited to see what was around the corner of the next level, because it just felt like it was just going to be met with more frustration.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, video games, like a lot of anything that's challenging, you know, like puzzles, things that we've been doing for a long time. So it's not a new thing, is a dopamine rush of success. You're trying to chase that dragon of success that your body goes like, good job, you did something. And you're like, all right, awesome. And you just, but with this, you don't get that because you're not building up past anything. Quite often, that the levels, I'd be like, and you're like, oh, what's the boss again?
Yes.
Like, and the bosses, I will say, are good. They're yes, it was a mixed bag of like, at least they're different every time.
Yeah, I like that they have a clear pattern. They were a little bit frustrating, but I agree. I think the bosses were the definite highlight of this game.
Absolutely, they were. And so like you get to that and you're like, oh, okay. At least you get a little bit of like, oh, we overcame that. That's fun.
Right.
But then you got to do an absolutely inconsequential level again.
Yes.
Not only in its length, but just repetition. And then you get to a boss again and you're, well, thank God it was 45 seconds later because now I'm here at the boss again.
Well, here's something that I found kind of weird, and it has to do with that whole like making your way through the process of the level and then eventually getting to a boss fight. But it's in that process, I immediately recognized, I was like, oh, we have a health bar. That's great. You can get hit a lot and you won't die.
Yeah.
But that isn't necessarily a conceit to make the game easier.
Yeah.
What that ends up doing is makes the game much more liberal in how often it hits you.
Yeah.
And I find in a game like
Liberals.
Oh,
God.
And they wouldn't hit anyone.
No, they wouldn't.
Unless they were fascist, and then that's illegal.
Yeah, absolutely. God, the woke mob would go after you.
Oh,
My God. Mainstream media.
You know what I have to say to the woke mob?
What's that? Oh, you're sleeping. You're not woke at all.
Stay asleep.
Yeah.
Stay sleepy.
Yeah, keep your eyes closed.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Yeah, okay. What an episode for us.
Into that one. Yeah. No, but because of that, because you have this giant health bar, they're constantly trying to shave off of it.
Yes.
But in a game where it's like, if you get hit once, that's a really big deal. It allows you more strategy, and it's like, hey, we're going to throw a lot at you, but it's going to be a little bit more predictable because we don't want to be hitting you all the time.
Right.
Because then you die all the time.
But they're opening up a chain of hits. So like
Yes.
that's the problem is like usually in most video games you get hit and then you blink for a second because you're invulnerable
Yes.
as
Yeah.
you work on stuff. Okay. Oh, what happened? I'm gonna figure something out. This one it's like they knock you out of the sky into the water. You bounce in the water. You can't get to the thing. You bounce again and you're
Yes.
like, oh, I'm dead. Wow,
The
that was
number
quick.
and what that basically means is like it's the same as a one-hit kill in some of those cases,
Yes.
but it's just plays way more frustratingly.
Also, if this game was real, like I know
Wait,
what I'm
it's
saying.
not?
I know what I'm saying. It sounds insane.
Uh-huh.
But it's just like you have pterodactyls, you have another tribe, you have everyone trying to kill you, and you're like,
I'm with you.
You're like, you're throwing things, and then you're like shoveling food in your face as fast as possible. And you're like, okay, let's throw more things. Sushi cakes together.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
That does sound awesome.
When have you been in a street fight and you haven't stopped to pick up some street ebby?
Yeah. When's the last time I didn't knock over a garbage can and find a fully cooked turkey with the little puffs at the ends? Those have a name. I forget what they're called.
The
Little tufts on the feet, on the bones at the end, on their little legs.
Speaking of things being real,
Yeah.
how weird would it be if we found out that some other species had a name for something which specific purpose was to cover the nubs of our feet when they're cooking us?
Yeah, because they don't want to burn our bones because it would be make our meat taste bad.
Right. That's fucked up. Humans are fucked up.
I have often, I can't believe we're talking about this. I have often thought about how the cooking channel on any other context is a disgusting idea. How it's like, if it was about humans, like oh my God, we're getting conquered and we are now the chickens in like pens that
Yes.
are off to slaughter. And we got a glimpse of them doing a cooking show. Like, okay, so you rip off the head and and then, ooh, don't forget that good spine meat. And you're like, what is happening? But it's not that bad. This is how I become a vegan.
I know, honestly.
I'm one step away from like, oh my God, you changed the context.
Yes.
Even though context is very important, but whatever.
Context is very important, and it's much easier. And I'll say this, speaking from my heart and my
please do.
perspective.
Yeah. Speak your truth.
Ignore those thoughts. It's way easier to go through life like that.
Because cheeseburgers are delicious.
Cheeseburgers are so good.
They're so fucking good.
They're so good.
Yeah.
And they have nothing to do with cows.
If I had one bite of a human burger and I was like, fuck, that's good. I totally understand it. Never mind. You get a free pass on everything, guys. Good luck.
I would take it.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd eat the shit out of an Andrew burger.
Would you?
Yeah.
It'd probably taste delicious.
Probably would. Let's try this out. I got space in my freezer.
Okay, Army Hammer, relax.
Speaking of
Hammers.
Of hammers.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Thank you.
Hucking them up in the air.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to connect the dots between like why I loved this game so much as a kid and why it really didn't land for me as an adult. And I think one of the reasons is as a kid, we're expecting games to kick our ass. And it's kind of okay if we're not making it past the second level because we'll just play it again because that's what we expect from games.
Yes.
Nowadays we expect something a little bit different. Like when we die in a game after making it 4 levels, we're like, fuck, now I have to do all that over again.
Yeah,
but as a kid, that was the language of video games. So it was okay. And with that in mind, doing that in a game that looked so different than any other game I was playing, I think is the reason why I wanted to play it. Like, especially on the Genesis that had just such a great color palette and the graphics were just, they just popped so much.
Yeah.
When those dinosaurs, like in that first level, when it wakes up and chases you, that was like seeing the dinosaur in Jurassic Park for the first time.
It was really awesome.
Yeah.
It's really, really great. It's so funny because you're right. The story and the format and the setting carry so much more weight back in the day than they do now. If a game was broken and it wasn't a lot of fun to play, it's not like I would go, here's a really good example actually of that. Andrew made. Thanks, Andrew.
I'll be
No
the judge
problem.
of that,
Okay, yeah. Is that the Avengers game?
Okay.
This is a game that I will love because I like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is going to be a lot of fun. I get to be Captain America. Well, guess what? I didn't like that game because it was broken and it wasn't good. No context, no setting, no format is going to save the game. Whereas back in the days, you as a stupid little child is like, like so stupid. And it's like, and you're just like, and you're like, I love dinosaurs. So this, I don't care.
Okay, so you do know some about me.
Yeah, well, it's not all wrong.
He's not wrong.
You're like, this game might not be perfect, but I love dinosaurs.
Yes.
And I'm going to play this game because there's dinosaurs in it. Where now we fast forward to 2022. Oh my God. And you go like, I get to play as Captain America. I'm like, yeah, but the game sucks.
Yes.
And there's a big difference.
That is a huge difference. And that's why I think licensed games probably did so much better back in the day because we didn't know the difference between difficulty and a game being terrible.
Totally. I want to go back and play Data East's Captain America and the Avengers.
Well, let's see if it's good. And it's pronounced Daddy East.
Can I get another game, Daddy East?
Daddy East. Why don't you go ask your mother West over there?
I was so, when you said that earlier, I'm like, oh, there's a Mama West coming. I love this.
So why don't we get into our reviews then, Andrew? Having played it now, I guess you'll kind of have an informed review based on what you, not only kind of what you would, like, had you played it more than you did as a kid?
I 1,000% played a lot of this game.
I had a feeling you did, because we used to hang out a lot, especially over the winters, and I would often bring my Genesis or my games to you, and we would play the games together. And I'm pretty sure this is one that I thought when I had brought it up, it was just going to take you seeing the game before you could give it your review. So why don't you start us off with your review out of 4 bits based on what you thought about this game as a kid? A very subjective review, but little baby Andy playing this game back in 1991.
Yeah, it's like, I'm so glad you brought up Super Ghoulies and Ghosties because that is, in my mind, a 1-to-1. Yeah. It's a difficult game that has an incredibly pleasing palette and general presentation style. And so you kind of battle this a little bit of going like, you know, how much would have I dealt with? How much more patience did I have as a kid? You know what's so funny? Though we do talk about like the patience you have as a kid playing games, usually out of lack of resources.
I had no patience. I lost my medical license at the age of 3.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, so I had no more patience.
That's too bad. You could have been a Doogie Howser.
I could have been. But instead, I was a Dr. Dench.
Oh no, Dr. Death. It's you know, like you have we say we have this patience for it, but really it's like we only have one game. You got to play this goddamn game.
Yes.
It's not like I can go run out and buy another game. You're a child.
And how would you drive? You have no money because you have no patience because you lost your medical license at the age of 3.
It's a classic story, eh? And so you don't have more patience. When I was a kid, or I was never like this, but around my friends, the number of controllers got thrown halfway across the room or snapped and stuff like that. It's like, I don't think we had more patience. I think we were completely aware that games were really difficult and annoying.
It wasn't patience. It was options that we didn't have.
Yes, exactly. Where it's like, that's just the way games are. Fuck this game. Snap. I had a cousin that used to like break controllers like it was going out of style. Like oh my God. And so I think we were aware it was difficult, but you were just, that was the way video games were. Yeah. So I think I would have been very patient with this, but I don't think it would have been one of my favorite ones, and the same reason why I didn't really fully remember it. But then we start playing, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. I'm going to give it a 2.5.
2.5 is a totally fair score. And I like the comparison to Super Ghoulies and Ghosties.
Thank you.
But I think that there's one key difference, and that's the fact that Joe and Matt clearly knows it can be a difficult game. So in the options menu, when it lets you change the difficulty and make you give you more continues and more lives and that sort of thing, it's basically saying we will allow you to see more of this game, and that helps because what the best part about this game is the visuals and the presentation. Yeah. So as a kid, I didn't really like Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Sorry, Ghoulies and Ghosties.
Thank you.
And I think my review would have reflected that. We'll look back on that when we have some time after these reviews. But this game, I think because I was able to kind of game the system a little bit and see more of it, it kind of felt refreshing in the sense that, yes, it was incredibly difficult and incredibly frustrating, but all the levels that we played today, I had seen as a kid. You know, I had gotten probably farther than we got today as a kid because we beat the game eventually. It's going especially through the different pathways through the game. And it's funny because before we started playing, I said, I don't know if I do remember getting past the second level, but every time we got to a new place, I was like, oh, I know this. Oh, I know this. And I still have memories of levels that we didn't touch in there. So I actually, as a kid, really appreciated the hand-holdiness of the difficulty, relative hand-holdiness. And I played the shit out of this. It was co-op. I played with my brother. A lot of games were, but it also where a lot of games that were good in this era will kind of get mushed together because they were kind of samey, like the beat 'em ups and things like that. This game was so different from anything else that I played in the era, and it stood out because of that. You might find this weird, but it's a 3.5 out of 4 for me.
Wow. Well, you did love it. You said you loved it.
Yep.
You beat it. You know, that's important.
Yep.
I cannot wait to see the sweet fall from grace for this stupid idiot game.
Bathos.
Yes. Jeff Bezos. Okay.
Could you imagine? Oh my God. Can you imagine if Bezos goes up into space?
Yes.
And falls out of the capsule
Icarus.
and has a literal fall from grace, which is what Bathos is.
I would have to hide my smile. You'd have to like not go like, you know, for as long as there's been written history, there's been stories exactly like this. And yet it's like that bullshit stuff in movies where it's like, don't go there, you'll die. Like this, we've seen it foretold, you know what I mean? And you're like, well, I'm curious though. And you're like, oh man, that would be, you'd have to do that for half a second. Go like, oh, that's so sad. So sad. But inside go like, you stupid idiot. Okay. All right. So, my review in the modern day after my 2.5 and your 3.5 in our retro scores. Ooh, baby. That's a 6 out of 8. Okay. How low do I go? That's the problem is there are elements about this game that are completely good and executed incredibly well.
Yep.
It's not a complete bashing all across the board. It's just, in a lot of ways, this game is gone the way of the dinosaur.
Oh, Andrew, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Oh, really?
Is this because I know dinosaurs are extinct, but we just played this game today.
Yeah, right, but it's not. Okay, so the reason I'm saying that very, very, very smart analogy is because games have changed and it's well past what we need out of video games. And in this game, it's just incredible. Do you still not getting this?
I know games have changed, but dinosaurs are dead.
What if I said the way of the dodo?
That's also dead.
Right. Yeah. So this has gone the way of the...
No, I'm trying here.
This has gone
You're not giving me much.
This has gone the way of the Sega Genesis.
It's dead.
No, okay. All right. I'm just going to keep going. Is that because it's gone the way of the dinosaur? What we asked from the video games in 1991 and what we asked from video games in 2022 have changed. And the problem is this is a time capsule that can't change with it.
Right.
Games get released every month and, you know, we've seen progression through that. And so going back and playing this game is such a stark whiplash difference where you're like, ooh boy, this is not
Do you say it's a whiplash difference because it's not my tempo?
It's rushing. For sure. Speaking of whiplash, over on the Mushroom Club, we are doing our Spider-Man episode.
Whoa,
I'm just saying, because
yeah.
J.K. Simmons.
Heck yeah, baby.
It's not its fault, but it is a time capsule and it is long die to go. You know what I mean? We just don't play games like this anymore. We need progression. We need some level of achievement out of this, and we're just not getting it out of this game. So, gameplay, not good. Incredibly difficult, and at the end of the day, not fun. It's just not a ton of fun. A little bit of fun, not a ton of fun. The presentation style is wonderful. I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a 1.5. I'm gonna give it a 1.5.
Yeah, I definitely didn't dislike it as much as you. I didn't love it like what I expected to like it, and I honestly think that stark difference in terms of what I was hoping for and what I got is almost giving me a feeling like I need to give it a lower review than I actually want to.
Yeah.
I did have kind of an itch to go back and play through some of the bosses, and I'm like, I think I could have figured that one out.
Right.
I think I could have done. And you died slightly earlier than I did, so I had a little bit of time to play the game on my own while I finished out my last life. And playing it on my own, believe it or not, was more enjoyable.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Because there's fucking chaos on screen anyway, right?
Small screen.
Like there's so much going on, and when you're there and the bones are here, and sometimes I think I'm your character and this and that.
We're jumping on top of each other's heads.
Literally, like you're sometimes jumping and putting me into the pterodactyl and vice versa.
Happened once, and I apologized.
But I did have kind of this feeling like, I kind of want to go back and play that game. But I also kind of know that the minute-to-minute gameplay wasn't fun enough to warrant me doing. If I did it, it was more to see whether or not I could, as opposed to because I wanted to. So I'm going to give this one a 2 out of 4.
Okay.
And it's reluctant because I did want to give it a 2.5, but I know that we've played other similar games that have been more fun to play nowadays and have been more difficult. but it just wasn't. Maybe I'm just brokenhearted.
I don't know. Maybe.
But right now it's a 2.
Okay. So that's a 6 in our retro scores. And what was that? 1.5 and 2.5?
Yes.
2.5?
1.5 and 2.
You want to have 2, so that's a 3.5, and that, of course, combined is a 9.5.
9.5.
9.5.
It's not what I wanted. And I bet you it's not what a lot of people expected. But this is the kind of game that I think is ripe for a remake.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because if you make it a little bit faster,
Yeah.
if you make the screen wider,
I was going to say yes.
I think that will go a long way. I think there's going to be a way to inject a ton of humor into it.
I agree.
And I kind of expect that when this remake comes out, maybe you and I will do an episode on it as a revisit.
Yes, I would love to. People that are remaking it, don't change the animation style.
100%.
That is not the problem with
100%.
this game.
And how about this to the people out there listening? Because Andrew and I have had some discussions about the direction to take this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We focus a lot on retro games. Obviously, we've had some episodes that focus more on some of the modern games. Just kind of trying to find ways to potentially incorporate some newer stuff into the material. If you have any recommendations or thoughts on the podcast, you can reach out to us, the retrogradepodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on any of our socials, at Retrograde Pod, at Retrograde Andy, at Retrograde Mikey. We're kind of putting some plans in place to shift the overall structure of the podcast slightly without changing the overall identity of it. If you have any recommendations or thoughts, send them our way.
Yeah, please let us know, because we love doing games like this. We'll always do. We'll keep doing it like this. But if you want to see some new stuff, which because based on the response, we know what people have really liked when we've done new games, but we don't want to completely shift everything. So we
don't want to alienate the people who like it for certain reasons. But anything you can think of, even things like the gameplay is too long, or it's too short, or this or that.
Get rid of Mikey. Yeah.
Please tell us to do that. I'm done with this. But I'm not done with this game because we haven't yet heard about the awards. So let's let the band play us on, and then we can see what awards this game has won.
Do you think they're going to play with bones? You know what I mean? Speaking of Flintstones, okay.
You've been waiting for it all year. The most glamorous award ceremony of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, the Grady's.
Oh, wow.
Wonderful. Beautiful.
Wow. Great bone-themed band.
Yes.
I didn't appreciate the Halloween music.
Yeah.
That scared me and was unexpected.
Yes, 100%.
But just because you're playing with bones doesn't mean you need to be all creepy about it, Dad.
What are you, David S. Pumpkins?
Who's David S. Pumpkins?
Oh, you never saw that? That was a Tom Hanks SNL thing. I'm not getting into it. It's not worth our time.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Elliot's here with his little... He's got his little leopard print butt flap.
Codpiece. Elliot, you look good. I don't know. I was going to say insane, but whatever.
Any excuse for him to show off his muscly body.
I know. You're so muscular. It's insane.
One of these days we'll get you in front of the camera, but you'll have to prove yourself to us first.
I don't know. We'll look so less than.
We will look much lesser than.
Yes, absolutely. So where do you keep the envelope?
Oh, it's... Oh, he's just reaching into his toga.
Okay, I don't want to see that envelope. I have to burn that afterwards. Thanks.
Ugh. Ooh, it stinks.
Oh, God. Okay, let's find out what awards this one.
Award.
Oh, that's too bad.
Creak.
What's this? What's going on here?
I'm a cricket.
Oh, yes.
I'm just imitating the crickets we just heard.
I thought it was someone spooky walking across the floor. Like a ghoulies and ghosties.
You know what we shouldn't do?
Okay. What's that?
Stuff the envelopes full of crickets.
Oh, right.
Because I feel like it's really getting to Elliot. He's covered in locust right now.
And the best part is you think I care. Screw you. Okay, so nothing, eh? Well, we know what happens then. If it wins none of our regular, glamorous awards, we are given unique awards to give to this game.
Yes.
So, what's going on?
No, you tell me.
Well, we're giving unique awards to this game.
Yes.
You look like you just, this is your first time.
The way your words are coming together it's confusing me. I don't know why.
It's my first day.
So you got your envelope. I got
my envelope. Okay, so
I've got mine here. Oh, it wins the Stuck in the Stone Age award because it was great back then.
Yeah.
But it isn't anymore.
Yeah.
So stay in the Stone Age, you piece of garbage.
Oh, it throws it just like Letterman. That's good. Okay, this gets the T-Rex Short Arm Award. Well, that's very odd. T-Rex has got little arms, right? Because its reach wasn't very far.
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Whoa, goodbye. All right.
It's going back.
Oh, guys, a boomerang. The first time anyone threw a boomerang, like, wow. Uh-oh.
Run. Runs into their little like hut or whatever, like peeks their eyes out.
Still
it's
coming
like,
back?
It's waiting there, like hovering.
Yes, it's just going around the hut. Jabba the Hutt. Okay, so we just played. Okay, well, that was, I gotta say, it was disappointing because the second it turns on, you're like, I'm gonna love this.
Yeah.
This is gonna be great.
Yes.
And then your heart is just slowly broken over and over again. It wasn't what we wanted it to be. You know what I mean? But it was still interesting going back.
It wasn't what we wanted it to be.
Is this a Mark Ruffalo?
It wasn't what we wanted it to be.
Somebody get that guy an award.
They knew it wasn't.
So if you've gone back and played this game recently, or you played as a kid, or you have some memories of this game, please let us know at Retrograde Mikey, at Retrograde Andy. And more than anything, we can't wait to talk to you soon. We love every single one of you.
Yep.
That's
true.
It is true. Like, no one's lying.
Yeah.
Are you lying?
Oh, wink, wink.
Wink. My name's Andrew Bascom, and with me as always is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over.
Thank you so much for listening to the Retrograde Podcast.
We look forward to recording this podcast all week long, and we hope you guys look forward to listening to it.
You know how we got into retro video game podcasting for the money and the babes? We're really in it for the ratings and reviews.
Money is ratings. Reviews are babes.
Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you enjoy podcasts.
For any business inquiries, you can always email the retrogradepodcast@gmail.com.
You can find us on Twitter at RetrogradePod.
And you can find Andrew on Twitter at RetrogradeAndy.
And then Mikey at Retrograde Mikey.
Instagram at The Retrograde Podcast. And remember, find us on Patreon, patreon.com/The Retrograde Podcast for all of your non-essential but very much enjoyable content.
We don't ask that you give us much, apart from joining our Patreon. But what we do ask is that you join this community that we've grown.
Also, give us some of your blood.
Yeah. I want some of your hair in a bag. Thanks for listening from your two dads.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
I've never felt true love